Hello everyone, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. My name is Jose and welcome back to my Optimus Sketch YouTube channel. In this video, I'll show you guys how I go about painting a portrait in Photoshop for my photography. I would like to leave a quick comment before we start. I'm a beginner, and if you see something in the video that requires some improvement, please by all means leave a comment in the comment section below here on YouTube. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and start painting. To start, I create a canvas with the following size. As you can see on screen, I use 15 inches for the height and 15 inches for the width. And for the resolution, I use 300 pixels per inch. And for the color, I use RGB, 8-bit. I usually don't change the color on the background unless I feel that white and black are too harsh. Once I have all the requirements fulfilled for my project, then I click create. Once I have clicked create, I wait for the new window to open, and then I'll go about adjusting the color of background if I find the white color too harsh for the values, for the highlight and for the shadow. Usually I recommend you to work with different colors. Usually gray would be better, but I went with the color that matches skin tone type of color. Anyway, once you have all the setup in place, go ahead and import the document or the picture that you wanna use as a reference for your portrait. In this case, you click File. Once done, open, and then locate your picture or the image that you wanna use as a reference, and then click Open. And once you've done that, you should pop out a different window. In my case, I set up my settings on Photoshop to open up Camera Raw automatically. But if you haven't done that, then the picture should pop out in a different window straight on your Photoshop. Here on Camera Raw, I'm just doing some adjustments so that I can see better the details on the picture. Usually I do this because some of the pictures are taken with the phone and things like that, so I try to make those details a little bit more visible. That way it's easier for me to paint and do my portrait that way. As you can see here, I'm just tweaking with the exposure and things like that. Once you have done that, as I said before, you will see your window pop up in the window. Once that happens, drag the picture into your project window and let it go. Once you have done that, by clicking Ctrl T on your keyboard and Alt and dragging the picture to scale. The reason being is because some pictures will not fit your canvas perfect, so you have to do some adjustment. In this case, I'm just scaling the picture to fit into my new window project, and that way I can have the picture in the place where I like. Anyway, once we have done that, all I have done is create a layer, and this layer will be for creating the base of the skin. Every time you're doing a painting, it's good to have in mind some color base that can help you build up the painting on top of it. Usually the color base has to be the perfect base that match up with the color of the skin that you want to paint. In this case, I choose something like gray, the mid-tones. I usually go by the mid-tones of the skin. I don't necessarily know the name of the color, sorry about that, but as you can see here, I'm just trying to locate the mid-tones of the skin. And once I have found the mid-tone of the skin, I'll be good with that. Now in here, what I'm doing is I'm just tracing. No, not tracing. I'm making a selection. You can make a selection with different tool. You can make selection with last tool, magic tool. I'm using selection here with the paint tool, as you guys can see. I highly recommend making a perfect selection. The reason being is because later on you can use this selection to kind of hide some of the imperfection of your drawing on the corners of your drawing. because when you're drawing and painting, you can go overboard, and especially in the edges of your drawing, and you can have those pencil kind of painting all over the place, and using the perfect selection later on with the mask to get rid of those imperfection on the edge of your painting helps a lot. This is why I'm using the paint tool to adjust and have that perfect selection. But you could use a different selection, and use the one that makes it easier for you and your works faster. Anyway, once I have the selection in place, like I said before, I go ahead and I look it up for color for the skin base. Let me see here. Okay, I'm still making selection, as you can see. The reason I put one in there is so that the selection can expand a little bit outside the drawing. That helps to expand some areas that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And again, I just pick up the color for the skin base with the selection. I press Alt and Delete to fill the new layer with the color selected for the skin base. I tweak a little bit the color, as you can see, and then I create a new layer for tracing. The skin base and using selection tools like a pen tool and tracing are different things for me. I use the tracing to add some details or some tracing some lines and be able to start painting and know exactly where I'm supposed to put certain things, certain details, and certain colors and stuff like that in the subject. And I use the selection simply to make a selection on the determinate area on the subject. As you can see here, I'm just making the selection of subject. Usually the selection can take a while, so I usually recommend you guys to make selections and tracings that helps you later on your work. Don't rush. Take your time and make things on your pace. The more details, the more small things that you put on your paint, the better will be the result of your portrait. So just keep that in mind. I'm still tracing, as you can see here. Yeah, tracing can be time consuming, but as you can see here, I'm trying really to get to those small places that can give me an idea where to put shadows and put highlights and things like that. So some people believe that some people believe that tracing is bad, but like I said before in the beginning, I am a beginner, so I don't know even if I can paint without tracing or some sort of reference, because it's extremely hard to just, as a beginner, to paint from straight out from my imagination. So I do require some sort of guidelines for me to be able to later on put my shadows and my highlight in place. As you can see here, I'm putting some details. I'm just tracing some aspect of the photography, so that I can include those aspects on my portrait later on. And that's all I'm doing here, is all tracing. This is the reason I'm fast forwarding this part, because it's kind of tedious, being tracing all over the place, and it takes time and it's kind of boring. So anyway, as you can see here in the beginning, I'm putting some the details and the aspects that come with the photography that I want to include on the paint. Now, if you could also include these aspects on the paint without tracing, but like I said before, it's hard for me as a beginner to do so. But if you have a good skills and you're good in doing that, so by all means, you go ahead and do that. Because I really like the bikini and I didn't want to mess it up, so I decided to include the tracing there. Okay, once I'm done with the tracing. What I do is I'm gonna go ahead and create a different layer, and that layer that I'm gonna be creating will be the layer for painting. But before I do that, I like to have my reference close to my paint. So this is the reason I'm going to the window and I'm creating a copy of my project window. And with that copy, I have three different windows: my painting, my copy of the painting, and the subject or the image window. And then I divide them into three different windows, or two different window, to say that. And once I do that, I scale them to my like, and that way I can have all of the subjects or the things that I need for my painting. I need the image so I can use as a reference, and I need a small version of my paint so that I can see far and see where I could improve, how it looks like from a distance. And I have the big one, which is my painting, and I can see what I'm doing, where I can zoom in, zoom out, and so on. And I found out that working this way, it does really help, and especially for people that don't have extra screen or extra monitor or things like that, because I only have one monitor, and I find this way really helpful for people that don't have extra monitor and but want to be able to see their reference and be able to paint in at the same time. Sorry about that. And I found sometimes that this might be even helpful for advanced painters or professional painters, because I don't know, it's just always good to have some kind of reference, some guidance, something that helps you painting without making too many mistakes. Anyway, in here I'm trying to figure out what kind of color I should put in skin. My first intuition was wrong. I picked up a color that was messed up. It was dark and it didn't match the skin base, the first layer of skin base, the color that we pick it up to make as a foundation of our painting, and I end up having some crazy shadows. One thing that I didn't mention here is the brush that I'm using now. This brush comes with Photoshop. I believe some people call it charcoal, but I found this brush on Kelly's Real Oil, Kelly's Real Oil, painting, something like that. If you want to know where I get it, I'll show you later. But if you go to brush settings, you can find this brush as a name of 60. It's brush 60. Anyway, all the brush it's the only brush I'm using here is this one. And this brush comes with Photoshop. I don't know how to create brushes yet, so I'm not gonna go in more details about brushes, because like I say, I'm beginner. I don't know how to create brushes and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get used to using brush that come Photoshop, and so that I can later on learn how to manipulate them and create my own brush for a specific situation. Anyway, once I find that here, I'm just looking up for colors. I'm trying to figure out what color works better on the skin, and I actually end up going with this reddish dark brown, because it really match up with my skin base that I have selected before. And also it was dark, because I want to go something dark, and I want really to match up and to have the impression that the colors match with subject on a real image. Anyway, here I'm trying to figure out the colors and trying to make the shapes and shadows. What I do on this layer, I create a layer called painting shadow, and this layer of painting shadow, I mix up all the shadows. Okay, I make up the darkness, the highlights, and everything that has to do with the shadows and lights and stuff. I put on this layer. This is my composition layer. Is where I pretty much sculpt the subject into a portrait and making it looks like a 3D, or so to speak. Anyway, I go ahead and doing the hair and everything. I usually sometimes create different selection and parts for the body, but I don't know. I just find that when I'm in the mood of painting, when I finally get the color, I finally get the rhythm, it's really hard for me to steadily stop and go ahead and make a selection. It distracts my work and my flow, so I just go ahead and paint everything at the same time, and later on, if I need it, I then make a selection of individual parts of the body and then work on those parts individually. As you can see here, I'm just tweaking and finding the colors that make the image come close to the portrait, come close to the image, and yeah. So far I'm working with the colors and trying to put the shadows in the right places, and all the image, the portrait and the painting is all about shadows. If you can get the right color, the right shadow, you usually it's not gonna be too hard to get that 3D, that realistic effect on the image. As you can see here, I tried to create a separate layer with the selection of the hair, but I ended up not using it because I don't know, the drawing and everything was so in place that the shadows and everything that I didn't need to use different selection to tweak and change and make it look more realistic. Anyway, in here I'm just softening up things and making the shapes looks more like on the picture, and trying to get that image to look exactly the same, or at least close to the image on the picture, on the photography. When you're painting, it's never a good idea to make it too real, at least for beginner, too real, because for me, I like to know the shapes, and like when I'm doing this and I don't make it too real, I can see some shapes, some forms, like I can see a square, I can see a circle, I can see a rectangle, things like that, and it helps me later on when I'm trying to draw myself and things like that. So keep in mind that not always your paint is going to look 100% realistic, and that's not a problem. That just means that you need to take in consideration those shapes and learn from them, so that next time you can take advantage of them and make a better portrait. Anyway, in here I'm just tweaking the colors and trying to make the face to look 3D and look exactly the shadows that I have in the picture on my portrait, the highlights, and make sure that the colors are in the right places, and make sure that I have some differences on the shadows and highlights in the picture. As you can see, I'm just playing with the colors and see what colors go right, what colors go wrong. This paint, it was long. It took me about 5 hours to make this paint. Yeah, it's a really long one, and once I did and shorten up, yeah, it get to this size, but it takes time. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes patience. I don't know how. I have seen some professional video, and the way they do is amazing. They just lay down everything and they do that in on 30 minutes, on 5 minutes. I was like, damn, that. Yeah, it takes, definitely for a beginner, it takes patience. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of practice, and time. But once you start to see your final result, like well, for me, once I'm starting to do this and I start to feel tired or something like that, I just think of I go back to the initial tracing of the image, and I see it from there to here what I'm doing. I was like, you can see the difference. You can see that the result comes alive, and that motivates me to keep going, keep painting, and keep continuing and hope for better quality and better result from the image. Here I'm just trying to make a hair. Hair, for some reason, is a hassle for me. Making a hair is just, maybe because I only use one brush, this brush that I'm painting with. Maybe this is the reason. And I've seen some people on YouTube creating different brush for hair, but until now I have not figured out how to do that. But hair is a hassle for me. And here I create a different layer called jewelry. This layer, I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to paint everything the same time, so I'm not making selection of different parts. So I want to know where the things are in places, that way I can skip it and not mess it up so much. Then here I'm creating this jewelry, but it's mainly for the other parts of the clothing and stuff like that that come with the body, with the picture. I'm not just including the jewelry. I'm gonna include the bikini and so on. Anyway, in here I'm just trying to get a feeling of the colors again for the jewelry. One thing that is hard is getting the right colors. This is the reason I like to go with the flow and not changing so many things, and because I try to get the right color, and it's hard, but I think for this one I come close to the right color, and I come close to getting the skin to look at least close to the real picture. As you can see, I'm just putting the shadows and on the right place, and trying to put everything on the right area. On the place that has dark and shadow, put dark color and so on. As you can see here, I'm painting the bra and so on. And I don't know if this is a bra. I think this is like a bikini suit, though. I don't know how you call the top part of the bikini suit. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you guys call it. I'll just call it bra because it's the easiest way. And one more thing I forget to mention is English is not my first language, so it's hard to describe certain things or elements in English, so without having to go and look it up in a dictionary. Anyway, let's continue. As you can see, I'm still painting the jewelries and painting the shadow layer. I'm working between those two because I'm trying to get the feelings of the skin and everything else. But so far I'm already to see that my paint is coming alive, it's coming together, and this motivates me because now I know, oh, I can paint this, I can keep going, I can do something with this, and that's me, and that's how I keep motivating. I keep not getting so boring during my paintings, because as my paint progress, I can start to see the things that coming together, and it's giving me hope that I can finish the paint and I can do it in under certain time, or sometimes it can take longer and I have to take a break and give up and come back on a different day and see what I can do. But for this one, for 5 hours, I was feeling it. I was in the rhythm. I was feeling good. I was like, no, I can finish this paint, because initially I just want to do the face and stop there, and then come back and do the body. But as I was progressing, I find out that I have the feeling that I could finish the portrait for the entire body on the same day. Anyway, in here I'm just trying to get a feeling of the bikini and the suit, and trying to get those details. As you can see, I'm jumping. I'm painting here, painting the skin, go back to the painting the suit, painting this and this. The reason being is because that helps me keep painting. And if I paint just one location, I get bored and I don't see result. And I don't know. And for me, it makes me give up. It makes me quit. So if I go around and keep painting, I definitely get more motivated, because I can see better results. If the skin was not so good, the bikini is. If the bikini is not so good, the skin is in, and back and forth, So as you can see, I stopped from the bikini because it was giving me a hard time, and then I went back to the skin, and I did on the skin, and I was like, now it's coming together. And this is how I go about. I don't just paint one area. I jump from here to there, and all this is just in the paint shadow on the layer for painting shadows, because I do the painting shadow, and then I do another layer called painting highlights, and you will see, and that helps me put everything in place and help me know the difference between dark shadows, light shadows, and keep the flow going. Because I have seen one guy on YouTube, and he kind of make a selection with the last two for every different components on the subject. For me, if I'm painting right now here and I stop to go to last two and then making different selection of different components on the body or elements on the body, like the suit, the bikini suit and stuff like that, I would lose my flow, and I would not be able to come back to that flow that easy. So for that reason, I use one layer for every shadow, and I lay down everything. I try my best to make it look 3D each as possible, and then once I finish with that is when I can come back and do my highlights. We're still in the same layer, still with the same brush. Like I said before, I only use one brush for the skin and everything. I changed the brush in the end for the round hard brush in the end for making some highlight on the hair. But for the skin and the suit and everything else, I use one brush, the charcoal brush. And in this case, you can find it as a brush 60 size, or you can find as name as Kelly's Real Oil brush. It comes with Photoshop. The reason I decided to paint with brush that comes with Photoshop is because I want to make sure that I'm focused on the painting. I'm focused on creating my skill for painting, and not sorry, and not skill for brushes and stuff like that. Now I create a different layer, and this layer I'll call it retouching shadows. The reason being, this layer will help me making the shadows a little smoother and little blending with different colors, and so that I can get that feeling of the skin coming together, so that the skin doesn't look too harsh and stuff like that. I usually do this too to make sure that I can get the feeling of the 3D. As you can see here on the booty part, it starts to come together with this retouching shadow layer. You can see a more formation of the 3D aspect on the portrait. Also, I would like you guys to leave a comment if you guys like better me talking over the paint, or if you guys like me to put just the music and let the video go by its way. I find out that sometimes it's good to talk on your paints, because you get the feelings that you communicate and you there for the people, and then just put in music and let the video take its course. Anyway, I'm here working on the bikini. The bikini part was the hardest. It took me quite some time to get a feeling of the bikini, because I couldn't get the right colors. For some reason, the bikini I couldn't get the right color, but in the end, ended up being good. But it was not what I intentionally picture on my mind or or imagine. But end up being good. Sorry about that. But end up being good, and yeah, I left that way, but it was not what I intentionally pictured in my mind. I wanted to look like close to the photography, but we get pretty close. I get pretty close, you know. But yeah, as a beginner, I'm not too unhappy with the work. I'm painting just for 4 weeks. I'm going to my 5, and then for what I'm able to do right now, I didn't even know was possible. Like, I didn't know I could paint at all. Like, I was not going for painting. Initially, I was going for the drawing, but I suck in drawing. I don't know what to do. I don't know who can help me with drawing. I start to feel like the drawing is just it comes natural to people. Either you have it or you don't. But on the process of trying to draw, I actually end up painting something, and I was like, wow, this doesn't look I mean, I was just trying to draw it, but I ended up painting something, and that thing that I was painting looked realistic. And I was like, can I paint? I didn't know I can paint. Can I paint? And then I was like, well, this look real. This look like some painting. And although it's not a draw, but for someone that was struggling with the drawing, I was getting frustrated, and I was about to give up on anything related to drawing, painting, stuff like that. The painting helped me have the faith and the hope that one day I can draw. But at least if I'm not drawing, I'm painting. I'm doing something related to art, and and that's something. That's something is better than giving up and not doing anything. You know. Sorry again about that. My voice is not in the right place. So, yeah, like I was saying, initially I was not going for the painting. I was going for the drawing. And then later on, I find out that I could paint. Not that I'm a good painter, you know, not that I'm professional or anything like that. But at least I know if I can paint, I can learn how to draw. So, but again, I also think that maybe just something that comes to people natural, because I didn't know I can paint, and one day I just ended up painting something, and it was pretty good. As you can see, I'm my fourth week of painting, and some of people just already comment on my painting saying that it's good, so that's not too bad. And so far I have only painted portraits. I'm trying to go to painting backgrounds and landscape and stuff like that. I'm getting there, and I'm gonna learn and maybe put these skills into my tool set. Anyway, I'm just going to the beginning and trying to get us as close to the original form on photography, even though it's kind of hard. But I did my best to try to tweak colors here and there. I'm changing the colors because I find a better color that get close to the suit. Because this goldish type of material painting is hard for me. So it's hard for me to work, but I could see that orange would work better on that. Anyway, once I have done all the shadow parts, I create a group layer, and this group layer, the reason being, I make a copy of everything that I have done so that I can save it, and I name it original, and then I use the copy of that so I can merge all the layers into one and use that as my new color base. And so that I can go ahead and start focus on the layer for painting highlights. I always recommend people to keep the files for their project before they merge anything. That way you can go back and edit things without having to you can go back and edit things without having to distract and merge in the layer and not be able to edit anything else. Anyway, here on painting highlights, I'm trying to get close to that old feeling that she has on her skin, and I would say I get pretty close, I believe. Again, I want to tell you that I'm using the same brush. For this paint, I have not changed the brush. I usually hardly change the brush. I don't know. Once I'm like I said before, once I'm in that rhythm, that flow of painting, if I go back and trying to look for brushes and thinking too much about the brush, I end up hurting my painting. So I just go with the flow, and in the end, if I need to do something else, I just do something else. But so far, I think the work was done pretty well, and there was no reason for me to change brushes, because first of all, I don't understand what the brushes in Photoshop. It took me like a week to find out this brush. I was painting with some other brush, it was looking terrible. And it took me a week to find this brush, and I like this brush, I love it, and I just keep with this brush and I do everything with it. I don't even know what this brush is supposed to do originally. I just know that it's the one that I use for paint, and it works. Anyway, as you can see here with the highlight layer, I'm just putting highlights all over the place and trying to get the better feelings of the skin, and trying to make a pop, trying to make the smoothness on her body, on the skin, the feeling of oil and stuff like that. I'm also using the highlight layer to make the bikini and the suit feel like all gold and things like that. Let's see what is to be done, and this layer that I'm creating now. Let me see. What I do with this new layer, I call it this layer smoothing the skin. It's okay. I created a layer before where I did shadow retouching, and this one I actually make everything come together. Like I'm smoothing skin, but not to make too flat. I smooth the skin, and then I harden it a little bit too, and I make the skin and all the shadows and all the colors coming all together at once, and looks this smoothness transition on the skin, so to speak. This is why I create this smoothing skin, and it gives your work a much better feeling to the eyes, at least. So smoothing the skin. Some people use, I haven't seen on Photoshop, some people on YouTube, sorry, some people using the airbrush. So if you want to smooth the skin and do a better work than I do here with the same brush, because this is the only brush I know how to use. But if you know how to use the airbrush, because I see people doing amazing retouching, amazing smoothness on the skin with the airbrush. So I don't know how to do that with the airbrush yet. But if you would like to have a better smoothness on skin than I did in here, so maybe you should try the airbrush. Airbrush is the roundest brush with some the opacity and the pen pressure working towards blending colors. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm trying to get the feeling of skin. Once I get to this step, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty happy with that, because the image was the face, at least it was really looking real. I was like, wow. But I was tired, so I believe this time here I spent already like 3 hours painting, and I was like, whew, I'm tired. But once I take a step back and I look into the results so far, and I was like, wow, I can continue, keep going, because the image already look realistic. One thing that you guys didn't notice so far, but I did notice, I made a mistake on the eyes. I did not put some details on the eyes. I didn't put a brighter color on the eyes, or those highlights on the eyes to make the eyes pop out, anything like that. But again, I forget. I was tired. I forget. I just went to the floor and looking for a place that I could see immediately from the photography. As you can see here, I'm just working on the skin, and it starts looking real. You know, that starts looking smooth and all that, and that's the good thing. That's the good thing about going with the flow, going with the rhythm. Not let the technical aspect of the drawing, the right naming, the right layer, the right tool to, you know, just go with the flow. Once you're in that mood, in that rhythm of painting, you just let it take you to the right place, and this is what I did. Just keep painting, sometimes mix it up, highlights with the shadows and smoothness with I just trying to mix it up, everything, and as you can see here, I use a small size brush, big size brush, and trying to get close to the feeling of the skin. If you like the way I'm doing this type of video, please leave a comment and tell me if you would like to have a video more in depth, like more if you would like to learn more all about the brush, how I use it, just about the brush, and I make the video just about the brush, or if you would like to know how I go about figuring out skin tones and stuff like that. So far I have been working only with the black skin tone, I'm trying to get a feeling of one skin tone at a time. Again, I'm a beginner. I'm not trying to go and paint everything, but once I have the feeling of black skin, and then I can move on to white skin, and then Asian skin, and Native American skins, and so I'm trying to get a feeling of how the skins and how to tune up the skins, and how they feel the tones and stuff like that, and what colors go right. Because for black, I feel like the orange and red are the colors that give a good skin tone to black skin. I'm assuming for the white would be like cream or something like that, but I'm not so sure yet. Cream, pink, and things like that. But we're gonna see when I get there. Anyway, and here I'm retouching with smoothing skin layer on the booty and making more roundish and more realistic. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I'm loving the way the image is coming out. It's coming out so real, so realistic, and I can't believe I only use one brush, and one brush can do this to an image. Imagine if you already a master bunch of brush, you already know how to use all of the brushes. When you can have like a super realistic image and portrait and landscapes and stuff like that. I can't wait to start working landscape. But so far my goal is to paint enough portraits of photography to be able to get at least a feeling of drawing, because I really want to draw. I think I'm fascinated with drawing. Be able to create something from nothing, and be able to, from your imagination, be able to, oh man, if you for people that have that ability of drawing, man, they don't know how beautiful that skill set is, and how important life is, because if you can draw, you can take that skill set to anywhere. You can take to videography, you can take to animation, you can take to, man, so many areas, so many places. You can do amazing things, and also art can involve your brain, can make you see things that you wouldn't see normally. It's very important. It's very important. It's a skill set to have, Anyway, in here I'm just putting some highlights. A color that I found that was giving the effect of gold. It's this yellow with mixed with the orange. It just made the image pop out a little bit more and be more towards gold, and I like it. Because there is some highlights on the photography. The suit in the photography looks gold. So I want to find a color that would give me the illusion that the drawing also has the suit as this bikini suit as gold. Anyway, this new layer that I created, it has nothing to do with the part of the naming, stuff like that. It was just my flow going, and I just created this random layer details, but they are not actually for detailing. The way I do detailing, it's actually I pay more attention, but this time I was tired, and I just use it to retouch a few things, making the hair a little darker, and put some highlights on the hair, as you will see later. And as you can say it's a details, but usually when I'm trying to put some details, I take more time and I pay more attention. And here I measure the detail layers, and I create a new layer called hair. And this layer here, I'm trying to put some highlight. This way I change the brush to different brush. I use my come from Photoshop is the round hard brush, and I use the paintbrush on my tablet to my drawing tablet to kind of make the fading effects and stuff like that on the hair, so that it can give you more illusion that she actually has a hair, because before it was not giving that effect of the hair so much. But as you can see here, I try to put some highlight on the hair and trying to make it more looking more like the hair on the photography, even though the hair on the photography is darker. I'm having a hard time working with darker color. I don't know why. Like I'm having a hard time working black. I usually go with the brown, with the reddish brown type of thing, but I don't know. I want to try working with black. Like the hair should be black, right? But I don't know. I just couldn't go darker than that. Anyway, um, the reason I select the all image is because, like I said before in the beginning, I create that perfect selection with the paint tool, and then by doing that I can have that sharpness edges on the image without having those pencil brush strokes on all over the edge of the image. And here I'm just working on the background and trying to make it look much better and pop out the image, and have a little bit more appreciate for the eyes. I put some shadows in here. I tweak some lights and stuff like that, and make it look a little bit more pleasing, and for our final result. Anyway, that's pretty much all about the painting. I hope you guys like these videos on YouTube, and if you do so, please leave a thumbs up, share, like, and subscribe, and leave comments and tell me what you guys would like me to do next, and if you guys enjoy, what aspect should I change, and things like that. Anyway, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.